This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Right, I thought I'd do a video here where I will introduce you all to all the fighters that are currently going to be fighting on the Dazn platform. Not just Dazn, but also Sky Sports. Now that Eddie Hearn's Matchroom has joined with Dazn for America and Goldenboy have joined with Dazn in America as well, I thought I'll give you everybody a rundown of all their fighters, who they are, that kind of thing. Because at the minute, there seems to be a bit of a tide that's starting to turn, where heads are starting to look at Dazn as a serious boxing platform. Because when it first announced, what happened? A lot of the Wilder fanatics, specifically them, saying we ain't going to get an app. Nobody in America wants to watch a damn app. We ain't doing it. We hate Eddie Hearn, blah, blah, blah. But obviously now Canelo has joined. Suddenly now they're starting to backtrack a little bit. Their bellies need tickling, okay? Their balls are starting to drop a little bit now, where they're looking at Dazn and they're going, well, actually, maybe if they start putting on good fights, maybe I'll get the app. Even though at one point they were adamant they ain't getting the app, don't care what happens. And why are they doing it? Because Deontay Wilder has a bit of an issue with Eddie Hearn. So therefore, they're putting all their eggs in one basket with Wilder. But what they're not looking at, or maybe they are starting to look at it now, that what happens when Deontay Wilder is no more? For me, Wilder will not be champion for too much longer, and he will drift off into oblivion. That's just my prediction. I don't know that for a fact, of course not. First things first, December the 1st against Tyson Fury. If he can get past that one, who knows what will happen. But if he loses or struggles to Tyson Fury, his stock will drop dramatically. And his stock isn't that high anyway. But of course, they have thrown every fighter under the bus for this man who is a natural hater. Let's be real, he is. He hates on everything and jealous of everything and everyone. But all these people are jumping in bed with them. And in addition to that, they're all PBC fanboys. Okay, so now the whole rivalry between Terence Crawford, a guy who they used to worship and adore, pound for pound #1, is now in the same weight division as Errol Spence Jr. Now they're starting to throw Terence Crawford under the bus. But now, with all this, I mean, listen, these people are just here to hate. When was the last time you ever heard a positive video? Let's be real. That's why I don't watch them anymore. But I'm hearing from other channels when they're talking about how these other PBC fanboys are starting to turn now. That tells me that either they've already got the app or they're going to get the app. And they're starting to realise that getting the Dazn app is actually a good thing, especially if you're a boxing fan. At $10 a month, my God, if I was in America, I'd be snapping that up. Big time. Big time. 32 Matchroom boxing shows with a potential 4 more that will be pay-per-view, as in the Joshua fights, etc. With an addition with Eddie Hearn going to be announcing another 8 more events coming out of European countries. Could that be Germany? Could that be wherever? In addition, the World Boxing Super Series, 3 weight classes as well for the Muhammad Ali Trophy. In addition, now Goldenboy, 2 fights per year with Canelo Alvarez, starting on December 15th against Rocky Fielding. Plus 10 Goldenboy shows. And this is only day 1. And look already, everybody who's saying that they're not going to get Dazn don't have the money. Well, their owner, the Dazn owner, has $20.4 billion net worth. And that was at the beginning of the year. So all this boxing money that he's throwing around for Canelo and Joshua and whatever is just play money for him. And let's be real, it is. If it fails, it fails. I don't think he cares too much. But of course he wants it to succeed. Hence the reason why he's attracting all the big names. So Wilder saying that no big name fighter is ever going to sign for Dazn. Well, Canelo did. And again, people say, but it's Oscar De La Hoya. So maybe it's a little bit interesting now to get the app. Oscar De La Hoya. Okay. He's got some pretty good fighters, but this is the same Oscar De La Hoya that these guys hate as much as they do Eddie Hearn. With his fishnet stockings and his racist emails, whatever it is that these guys have been saying about him. They hate Oscar De La Hoya. They boycott his shows. But now they're starting to turn. And trust me, you're starting to see the signs. The signs are coming. Trust me. Trust me. These guys will do anything for views and subs. And these guys have been manipulating you for a long, long time. And hopefully now you're starting to realise that these guys are not a man of their words. They don't have a code that they live by, that they preach. They don't. They will join Dazn. And if they don't, then they're damn well stupid. Anyway, let's start off with Matchroom. Okay? Let's look at all the fighters that they have. And if I rate them, I'll tell you I rate them. If I don't rate them, I will tell you that I don't rate them. And I'll be honest with all of it. And if I don't know who they are as well, I'll tell you I don't know who they are. So we're going to go in alphabetical order. All I've got is a list of their names. I don't have any more information about them. So most of it's going to be on memory. So I may be wrong a little bit here and there, but forgive me if I am. So anyway, alphabetical order, Amir Khan. Who doesn't know Amir Khan? He is a crazy, crazy popular fighter. Currently at welterweight, former before that at light welterweight. World champion, and also that he's got a fan base that rivals any other boxer in the world. Amir Khan. Anthony Crolla, again, former world champion. Been in there with Jorge Linares. Sells out just on his own as a headliner in Manchester, which is of course where he's from. Again, very, very popular. Now, I know those in America may not know who it is I'm talking about as the list goes down, but hopefully after this video, you will start to recognise some names in the future. So, of course, when you start watching the Dazn, and I hope that you do. I mean, for $10 a month, why wouldn't you, right? But as I'm going through the list, hopefully you guys will start to go, oh yeah, I've heard that name. Okay, so Anthony Crolla. Anthony Fowler, super welterweight, 154 pound, the machine. From Liverpool, he's only had a handful of fights already, but he's looking pretty damn good. He could certainly go on and become a British champion right now. I can't see any reason why not. Will he be world champion one day? Who knows? But he's definitely got the tools, he's got the ability, he's got everything. My only slight critique about him is his defence is pretty shoddy. But again, that could be because of the level of opposition that he's fighting, that he's not worried about their skill set or their power. So I expect as he starts to move up, things will change for that one. Anthony Joshua. Do I really need to introduce him? Of course not. But he's the unified heavyweight champion of the world in only 22 fights with a heavyweight resume that will rival anybody of the past. Who currently has a better resume than Anthony Joshua? The nearest one will probably be Dillian Whyte at the minute. But again, that's all down to opinion. But Anthony Joshua, the IBO, WBO, IBF and Super WBA Unified Heavyweight Champion of the World. The cash cow in UK boxing and European boxing. Currently in America, is he? Maybe not, but he will be. Anthony Sims Jr., American light heavyweight. I believe he's 15 or 16-0. I know he fought on the Chicago card just gone. And Eddie Hearn seems to really, really rate this lad. And he's full of confidence as well. He wants to become a star. So he's certainly with the right platform. So Anthony Sims Jr., again, I know that the light heavyweight division is very, very popular in America. So he's coming in at the right time. He really is. Artur Beterbiev, or Artur Beterbiev, I should say. The IBF World Light Heavyweight Champion, of course, fresh on a victory over Callum Johnson. And he's looking very, very good. And of course, Eddie Hearn is looking to make him a bigger star as well. As I said, the light heavyweight division is stacked over there. And who knows, maybe unification with Dimitri Bivol, who could also be joining Matchroom Dazn as well. And just to touch on that real quick, it doesn't matter where these PBC fighters or other fighters from around the globe join up with Matchroom or they join up with Goldenboy. Because believe it or not, while there will be some rivalry between Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya, that they're actually going to be working together. All of it is for Dazn, all of it. And fully expect a lot of Matchroom fighters to be featuring on the Goldenboy shows. Goldenboy fighters to be featuring on the Matchroom shows, UK and America. But of course, they will be rivaling each other to try and outdo each other, which is only going to benefit the fans, right? As in, if Eddie Hearn, one of his shows, does X amount of views, Oscar De La Hoya is going to go, whoa, 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 I need to try and beat that one, which is going to increase the event status for each and every one of them. So it's a good thing. So anyway, Callum Johnson next. Callum Johnson, he's just went through a very, very good fight, pretty short fight against Artur Beterbiev. He stepped up. He's currently the Commonwealth and British light heavyweight champion. Very, very good. His stock has risen dramatically. real dramatically. And again, one for the future. He's proved he can mix it with the best, especially when he dropped Artur Beterbiev in the second round, and he showed zero fear of him as well. So keep your eye out for Callum Johnson as well. Callum Smith, again, he's part of the Joe Gallagher, the same as Callum Johnson and others. And Callum Smith, super middleweight, super WBA champion, and of course the WBC Diamond, and of course the winner of the World Boxing Super Series, the Muhammad Ali Trophy as well, undefeated, fresh on a victory over George Groves. And me and a lot of you guys have said, even about a year ago, this one is one for the future. He will become world champion, and already he's now world champion. Charlie Edwards. I love Charlie Edwards. He is fiery. He is absolutely fantastic. He's a flyweight, sometimes super flyweight, and I believe he could probably go to bantamweight as well. And I really like Charlie Edwards. He's calling out all the big names. He wants Cal Yafai. He wants all the big names now, even though he's only had 14 fights. But he's confident in his own ability, so that is a good thing. Conor Benn, son of the legend Nigel the Dark Destroyer Benn. Conor Benn, welterweight. He's still raw with a lack of amateur experience and that, of course, so he's still learning. But a big name and a very exciting fighter. You've never seen a boring fight with him. He will go toe-to-toe with opponents, even when he shouldn't. But again, very exciting. Conor Benn. Craig the Spider Richards. Now he's going to be taking on Jake Bull, and that'll be next weekend, October 27th, as well, at the Copper Box, on a very good card, by the way. Craig Richards, he's only got one loss, and that's when he took on Frank Buglioni, when he stepped in last minute to replace a sick Callum Johnson at the time. So Craig Richards didn't have too much time to prepare for his fight with Frank Buglioni, so, but he went the distance with him though, and did very good. And now he's got a very good opportunity against Jake Bull, who's also a Matchroom fighter, which we'll get onto in a minute. Daniel Jacobs, currently going to be fighting Sergey Devrichenko. And again, that'll be next weekend there, over in, it's in New York, isn't it? And again, this will be for the IBF middleweight world title. So if Daniel Jacobs was to win this one, that is another world title in the ranks of Dazn. I mean, forget the fact that it's Matchroom or Goldenboy in Dazn, okay? And again, we all know Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Roman, now he just had a very impressive victory over Gavin McDonnell on the Worlds Collide event there in Chicago 2 weeks ago, was it? And super bantamweight champion. He is one hell of a fighter. I mean, I didn't know too much about him until I seen him take on Gavin McDonnell. But now I know about him. He is fantastic. And I wouldn't be worried about him taking on anybody for unifications or whatever. He is absolutely fantastic. Daniil Yalusanov. Now he is a Kazakh fighter from Kazakhstan, of course, same place as Triple G, for those who don't know. Excellent amateur career, and certainly one who Eddie Hearn, even though that he's only had, was it 5 fights now, that Eddie Hearn is confident that he could put him in there with anybody from the welterweight division, be it Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, whoever, and give a good account of himself. And this is already. So Yalusanov, he is bouncing back between countries. He's in the UK, then he's in the US, etc. And with the 2 other countries that Eddie Hearn is going to be doing in Europe, fully expect Yalusanov to be on those ones as well. Everything's about building, it's about building his brand, and Yalusanov is certainly one to watch. And the very popular David Allen, the White Rhino heavyweight, always very exciting, gives his fans time and time again. A real nice guy, but also a very good fighter. Since his win over Nick Webb, he's now got a new lease of life where he's taking things real serious. Bearing in mind his only losses are fights where he shouldn't have stepped in the ring with. He was still raw. He had bugger all amateur experience, and he got in there with Dylan White and went the distance with him. Got in there with Luis Ortiz. He was 1 second away from getting to the final round against Luis Ortiz. Against Tony Yoka, again, Tony Yoka, the Frenchman, Olympian, one for the future, and he gave a very good account of himself and got into the last round with that one. And also with Lemroy Thomas, personally, I think he beat Lemroy Thomas for the Commonwealth. That's just my opinion, but the judges didn't see it that way. Hey, maybe I'm biased and I'm wrong, but Dave Allen, I've had on the channel on plenty of occasions. Real nice guy. And certainly going to be British champion very, very soon. I'm predicting within the next 12 months. Demetrius Andrade. Now, he's going to be taking on that Walter Kakawaka, whatever his name is, from Namibia this weekend in Boston. And so this will be for the WBO World Middleweight title. And if Demetrius Andrade can get rid of this guy, who is, by all accounts, a very good puncher. He's at 16 wins, 15 by knockout, something like that. So, again, he was supposed to have taken on Billy Joe Saunders. So he's been preparing for Billy Joe Saunders, a southpaw, a slick southpaw, very, very difficult to hit. And now he's going to have to change it to an orthodox, come forward knockout artist. But we'll have to wait and see. So again, if Demetrius Andrade can win this one, that's another world title in the ranks of Dazn. Dereck Chisora, no longer Del Boy. Dereck Chisora, been around the block on several occasions. Let's be real, he is journeyman. Well, his record shows that he's journeyman, but he's a little bit above journeyman. You put him in there with other journeymen, he wipes them out. Okay, but he has lost to some pretty stiff opposition before. Vitaly Klitschko, of course, David Haye, Dylan White. He's lost to Kubrat Pulev, Robert Helenius. So, and of course his last loss against Ajit Kabiel, which for me he should never have lost, but again that was for the European title. So Dereck Chisora has been around the block once or twice, but he's still ranked number 11 by the WBC. So if Wilder ever wanted to do a voluntary, Dereck Chisora is one of those that he could, if he wanted to, give a voluntary to, because he's ranked high enough. Next one down the list, my favourite fighter, of course. Had him on the channel on plenty of occasions. Real good guy. Dylan the Body Snatcher White. Dylan is absolutely awesome. Awesome guy. And for me, and it's just my opinion, bias out of it, is the fact that he is probably the most improved heavyweight fighter right now. Considering where he was, and he stepped up against Joshua in very, very early doors. As did Joshua as well, of course. He stepped up early as well in a very, very big fight. In fact, he made Joshua famous. He made Joshua a headliner. Because he sold that fight. He trashed Joshua all the way through. And he still doesn't like Joshua, but he respects him. Just like Joshua respects Dylan White. But they don't like each other. And Dylan White, who's going to be fighting next, I'm sure we'll find out. Could be today, tomorrow, in the next couple of days. Will it be the Dereck Chisora rematch? Will it be Luis Ortiz or Dominic Brazil for the mandatory? But either way, Dylan White is number 1 in the WBC. Fresh on a victory over former WBO World Heavyweight Champion Joseph Parker, who only lost his title the fight before to the unified champion in Anthony Joshua. And he was the very first person to knock down Joseph Parker. And he wants Deontay Wilder. He wants these big fights. And for whatever reason, Wilder doesn't want any kind of smoke with Dylan White. Arguably the most avoided heavyweight right now in Dylan White. Felix Cash. Now, this is a guy I really like, Felix Cash. He's a middleweight. Again, he's one for the future. He's only had 9 fights. But for me, I predict that he could well be world champion one day. I don't know that for a fact, of course. But I do believe in Felix Cash. You'll find him on most of the Matchroom undercards at the minute. But he's such an exciting fighter. I mean, out of his 9 wins, was it 6 of them he knocked out? But anyway, keep your eye out for Felix Cash. Frank Buglioni. Again, he's probably at the point of his career where he's at his peak. Of course, former British light heavyweight champion. He lost that to Callum Johnson, and of course with the Commonwealth in that as well. But Frank Buglioni, again, he can give anybody a good run for the money, but I don't think he'll ever be world champion, but he can give certainly anybody a good run for the money. Of course, he went in there with Kovalev at one point as well. He did get done in that one, and he's going to be fighting in Monte Carlo next against a Chinese guy who I can't remember his name. But that's on November 24th, if I remember rightly, in Monte Carlo. So that's going to be his next fight. Frank Buglioni is certainly, I think I'll probably call him a gatekeeper, but he's a little bit above journeyman level, if you know what I mean. So if you put him in there with a journeyman, he'll wipe him out. But you put him in there with British level, he could wipe him out. But you put him in there with world level, I don't give him too much chance. But still, Frank Buglioni, in my opinion, is probably the best fighter that Don Charles has in his gym. That's just my opinion, of course. Gamal Yafai, brother of Cal Yafai. Now, I like Gamal Yafai. He did lose to Gavin McDonnell, and he did get schooled, to be fair. He really did. But he's had 17 fights and that 1 loss. super bantamweight, of course, but a very, very good, exceptional fighter. You could probably argue that it was too early for him against Gavin McDonnell, but ultimately, you know what, he stepped up. And that's what we need in fighters. Those who are willing to step up, even if it's potentially before their time. But I like Gamal fight. Gavin McDonnell, of course, the guy who beat him. And he lost to Daniel Roman in Chicago, just gone. But again, Gavin McDonnell, he will be world champion at some point. He really will. Him and his twin brother, Jaime, as well. Very, very good, exciting fighters from Doncaster, of course, and trained by David Colwell. I like both of the McDonnell twins. And Gavin McDonnell is an exceptional fighter. He really is. And I do feel that the occasion got to him against Daniel Roman. And because Daniel Roman isn't really known in the UK, maybe Gavin McDonnell didn't quite know how to train for him. But who knows what it is. Hosea Burton, former light heavyweight British champion. Only got one loss on his record, and that was to Frank Buglioni, who we've just spoken about. But he was beating Frank Buglioni the entire fight, in my opinion. And he got clipped in round number 11. And he was shaky from then on in and got stopped in round number 12. But he's an exceptional fighter. He really, really is. And he could be taking on Joshua Buatsi next as well. And Hosea Burton, for me, is above British level. And I know I'm contradicting myself because he does have a loss to Frank Buglioni. But I think you put him back in there with Frank Buglioni, he wipes out Buglioni. Again, it's all opinions. Until we see it, we don't really know. But for me, I think Hosea Burton has the potential to go on there and at least mix it with the world champions. And could actually become a world champion in himself. But we have to wait and see on that one, of course. And he is cousins with Tyson Fury as well, and Hughie Fury, of course. Isaac Chamberlain, cruiserweight. You see, already you're kind of seeing the pattern with the Matchroom fighters. And again, you'll see it with the Golden Boy fighters as well. And I know it's going on for quite some time. But Isaac Chamberlain, cruiserweight. So the pattern is that they have fighters from all different weight divisions. I think the only kind of division that they don't have is the minimum weight, the short weight. But who knows, maybe they do somewhere along the lines. But Isaac Chamberlain, cruiserweight, he's got a very, very good, exciting fight coming up with Luke the Duke Watkins. Both of these guys have one thing in common, and they both lost to Lawrence Okolie. Again, one for the future, and we'll get into Lawrence Okolie in a minute. But Isaac Chamberlain, again, he didn't really perform it in that fight against Okolie, and he made it a very, very frustrating fight to watch. I think I'm being kind on that one. But again, he's still learning, and he's certainly one for the future, no doubt about it. Isaac Chamberlain. Jake the Blade Ball. Again, as I said, he's going to be taking on Craig Spider Richards, October 27th, next weekend. I like Jake Bull. Absolutely fantastic fighter. He's now recently joined up with Dominic Ingle. Of course, he trains Billy Joe Saunders, Kell Brook, and Kid Galahad, etc., etc. Jake Bull, excellent fighter, and it's a very, very pick-em fight between him and Craig Richards. Really, really is. In some ways, it's almost a shame that these guys have to fight each other because one's going to have to take a loss. But it is what it is. Next one, Jamie Cox. His biggest fight was against George Groves in the World Boxing Super Series. He went in there undefeated and got done by George Groves. So there is a big question mark about Jamie Cox, but he's got balls of steel. He will get in there with anybody and give a good account of himself, because against George Groves, he was doing all right. He was, up until George Groves stopped him. But I like Jamie Cox, and he could go on to do good things. I do feel that he needs to be a bit more active. He's not an inactive fighter, but he needs to be more active and get those wins under his belt, and then maybe look at British level again at some point real soon. Jamie McDonnell, again, last time out, and this had a fight since, and I've totally forgot about it, but he took on Naoya Inoue. So in other words, he took his world title to Japan to take on Inoue, the Beast, and he got done. To be honest, he really did get done, but he went on an undefeated roll for a number of years. Jamie McDonnell is a fantastic fighter. Hopefully now he's going to move up in weight, which should suit him a bit more. I always felt that him fighting a bit lower down, he didn't quite look right. He looked a bit too skinny for my liking, but you know what? Again, I think that he could be on the Monte Carlo card potentially next, but again, I don't know that for a fact. We'll really have to wait and see about that one. But yeah, so that's Jamie McDonnell, obviously the twin of Gavin. Big baby Jarrell Miller, heavyweight. He's like a juggernaut. You know they call Joe Joyce the juggernaut even, but Jarrell Miller, Just keeps on coming forward, and he's going to take somebody with some severe power to stop him in his tracks, because he keeps on coming forward and has a punch output like no other heavyweight currently. Maybe the only kind of rivals who could potentially outpunch him for punches per round could be the likes of Joseph Parker, Andy Ruiz Jr., or his best friend in Adam Kalinowski. Maybe, but Big Baby Jarrell Miller knocking on the door of a world title shot very, very soon. Jesse Vargas, welterweight. Of course, he's been in with some great fighters, Manny Pacquiao, etc. And he had a draw with Delorme as well, which is a bit of a shock. And again, that's because he got dropped a little bit careless in the 12th and final round against Delorme. But Jesse Vargas, obviously, he wants a rematch with Adrian Broner. For me, he beat Adrian Broner. That shouldn't have been a draw, but it is what it is. He is former WBO world champion. Maybe he can become world champion again, hopefully, potentially. And I like Jesse Vargas. Joe Cordina, the Welsh wizard. Again, very, very young into the game. I like Joe Cordina. I think he will go on and become a real star in boxing. He's currently managed by Anthony Joshua as well. He's super featherweight. And with the guidance of Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, and of course with the opportunity of fighting on Dazn as well, expect to see Joe Cordina out a lot more regular. In fact, he actually held his first headline show in only his 8th fight against Sean Dodd in Cardiff recently as well. So he's on the right track, that's for sure. John Doherty, he made his pro debut in Newcastle last weekend and stopped the guy in, what, 8 seconds? That's his pro debut. Super middleweight, tall. In fact, he's a bit taller than me. I was surprised for a super middleweight as well. He's, what, 6'4", so he's, what, 2 inches taller than me. And a real nice guy. I spoke with him loads over the course of last week and that, and he's a real nice guy from Scotland. He has Newcastle Geordie connection and that as well, and certainly one for the future. In fact, he's confident in his own ability that he could take on any British level fighter right now and beat them. So again, very good amateur with his Commonwealth experience and that as well. So John Doherty, keep that name in your mind, okay? Johnno Carroll, the bearded crazy Irishman. He's just joined up with Matchroom. He was formerly with Frank Warren. Well, I say he was with Frank Warren. He was on a lot of Frank Warren shows. And he will be on the Boston card this weekend, I believe. I'm pretty sure he is. But again, absolutely crazy. He does the trash talk. He does the whole caboodle. He really does. And when he gets in that ring, he's an animal. To be honest, he really is an animal. Not the biggest knockout artist in the world, but certainly they hurt. And they look like they hurt, and he's not afraid of a tear-up. I like Johnno Carroll. He's a quality fighter. Josh Kelly, again, my prediction to be one of the future world stars. In other words, he'll be known globally at some point. Josh Kelly from Sunderland, which is right next to me. Obviously, I live in Newcastle. So Josh Kelly is exceptional fighter, trained by Adam Booth, and has the skill set of literally anybody. He can rival anybody. He's only had, 7 fights now, and for me, I think that he will become a world champion very, very soon. Much sooner than maybe a lot of people think. In fact, I'll probably be confident of, if you put him in there with Errol Spence Jr., if you put him in there with an Amir Khan, a Keith Thurman, or a Terence Crawford, he would at least, even right now, give a good account of himself and give those guys trouble. And as him and Adam Booth always said, that he does get bored in the ring at the minute because of the level of opposition that he's fighting. But once he starts moving up and gets stiffer competition, that's when you're going to see the best of Josh Kelly. And I believe it, I really do. Joshua Buatsi, again, another light heavyweight. See, we're starting to produce a lot of light heavyweights for the future. Of course, Anthony Yarde on that as well, who's not part of the Matchroom and Dazn. But Joshua Buatsi already looking real good on a victory this past weekend in Newcastle as well, over Tony Avalant, who went 7 rounds with Anthony Yarde. Joshua Buatsi stomped him out in the very first round. And again, managed by Anthony Joshua and promoted by Matchroom Eddie Hearn. Joshua Buatsi, again, a lot of people saying that he will be world champion one day. Who knows? Maybe he will be. And I'm not against that at all. And I hope that he will. Kalya, again, the WBA Super Flyweight Champion. He will be fighting on the Monte Carlo card on November 24th next against a Chinese guy, a Mexican guy, who I've forgotten his name, Gonzalez, which wouldn't be too difficult to predict a Gonzalez, would it? But Kalya, I'm hoping to see him in there with Charlie Edwards at some point, just from a British perspective. But ultimately, I want to see him in there with Roman Gonzalez. I know that they've been talking about Roman Gonzalez. And of course, the likes of Saul Rungvisai and so on. So for me, Kal Yafai, when he's in there with stiff competition, he performs. And he did that against, I've forgotten the guy's name. The guy where he won the world title from. It's right on the edge of my... Luis Concepcion, that's him. And he schooled him. Literally schooled him. And it was an absolute joy to watch. And I really, really rate Kal Yafai. I like him a lot. Katie Taylor. Potentially the name of the women's division. Of all divisions. She could be the Ronda Rousey of boxing. Could be. She speaks good. She looks good. And she fights like a damn machine. The way that she moves around that ring. Her footwork is phenomenal. And her punching power is phenomenal also. And then she hits her opponents at all different kinds. Now, she will be taking on, is it Cindy Serrano, this weekend in Boston. So I'm looking forward to that one. And Katie Taylor, trust me, she's going to be undisputed champion very, very soon. And of course, her amateur experience as well is phenomenal. Gold medalist from the Olympics. And of course, from Ireland in Bray, I believe it is. Is it Bray? Yeah, certainly a superstar in the making. Certainly. And I rate Katie Taylor a lot. I know a lot of people don't like women's boxing, but you know, I'm alright with it myself. Kell Brook, the special one. Now, what's he going to be doing next? He could be out in December the 8th, I believe it could be. But ultimately looking for a fight with Amir Khan, obviously former IBF welterweight world champion. I don't need to do too much about Kell Brook. You all know about Kell Brook. Rate him very, very highly. For me, I wouldn't mind him staying at 154 and going for one of the world champions. I've got to be real about it. But anyway, if he wants Amir Khan, then you're going to have to go drop down, back down to welterweight to fight him. But we'll have to wait and see. And of course, there is brief talk that potentially he could actually be looking at Terence Crawford as well. I have heard that from Casual Boxing Talk recently. So yeah, maybe that'd be an interesting one. Lawrence Okolie, cruiserweight, potentially a heavyweight at some point. He's an absolute beast. Although sometimes he turns up, sometimes he don't. He will do whatever he can to win. And his last time out, when he won the Commonwealth and British titles as well. In fact, he was already Commonwealth, I believe, at that time. And he made the fight ugly. Let's be real. He really did. But sometimes he goes in there and beats his opponents. Look at what he done to Luke the Duke Watkins. That was a fight for the Commonwealth title that was supposed to go some distance. And it was supposed to be a real test for Lawrence Okolie as well. Lawrence Okolie came through it with flying colours. But last time out, as I said, against Matty Askin for the British, he made that fight ugly. He got dropped numerous points. Could have potentially been disqualified, potentially. But either way, you know what, he didn't, and he got the victory. So Lawrence Okolie, for me, he's doing it the right way in the sense of he's moving through the gears. Okay, he's not just fighting journeyman and then going for a world title. No, he's going up. He's doing the, you know, the southern area. He's doing the Commonwealth, the British, and potentially European next, and then maybe look at world level. So for me, he's moving through the right gears. I like Lawrence Okolie a lot. Lewis Ritson, the Geordie Golovkin. Unfortunately, he did lose his last fight on points, where a body shot halted the rest of his game plan. But for me, lightweight, he's currently the British lightweight champion, of course, and he's way, way, way above British level. He's been showing that, you know, especially over wins over Paul Harlan Jr. and Carroll and others, where he's showing that he's above British level by some distance. But is he European level? For me, if he was to fight Francisco Patera again, I think he beats him next time. But I think that body shot just took the wind right out of him and just couldn't recuperate, and that's pretty much what he said. But I do believe in Lewis Ritson, and we will see a whole lot more of him going on in the future. Luke Campbell as well. He got his he avenged one of his losses. He got two losses, of course. One of them was against Jorge Linares, which for me, I think he beat Linares. That's just my opinion, but either way. And Yvonne Mendy, where he lost early on in his career, last time out on the Joshua undercard against Povetkin, he avenged that loss. Luke Campbell, Eddie Hearn believes that he will go on to become world champion one day, and I don't doubt it. Especially with that performance against Jorge Linares, I wouldn't mind seeing him in there with a Vasyl Lomachenko or something like that. Although I know that if Anthony Crolla wins his next fight, he could be in line for Vasyl Lomachenko as well. But either way. Now, Marcus Morrison. For me, a pretty inactive fighter. I do like Marcus Morrison. I think he's a very good fighter. But I think he needs to be a bit more active. And he needs to promote himself a whole lot more. It's all very well Eddie Hearn being the mouthpiece and whatever, but for me, he really needs to do it. He really does. But anyway, Marcus Morrison, he's a light middleweight, so super welterweight if you like. And yeah, he could be one for the future. He really could. But for me, I think he needs to open his mouth a bit more in a positive way. Martin Joseph Ward. I like him. I really, really do like him. Bit hit and miss at times, I'm not going to lie. He's a super featherweight guy. I don't know, is he actually related to Thomas Patrick Ward? I don't know. Hopefully one of you guys will be able to tell me that, if you guys are still listening after all this time. It's going on for a bit longer than I thought. But either way, Martin Joseph Ward, exceptional fighter. Very, very good fighter. He looks the part, he acts the part, and he fights the part. So sometimes he doesn't quite turn up, which is the problem, of course. And Maurice Hooker. Of course, he had a victory over Terry Flanagan last time out. Some consider it a bit of a shock one, to be honest with you. But, you know, super lightweight. He's the WBO champion. He's WBO? I'm sure he is. But and I forget the guy that he's fighting next, but it won't be on a DAZN show. Eddie Hearn actually lost that purse bid. I think he underestimated the money off Top Rank at that point. But Maurice Hooker, fantastic fighter, of course. Nikita Ababi, American, just made his pro debut on the Chicago card and blasted that boy out in the very first round. Again, you see, this goes back to the John Doherty having an impressive pro debut. Nikita Ababi had the very, very similar one as well as. Unfortunately for Nikosi Solomon, he lost his pro debut. And listen, sometimes the occasion gets to you. Sometimes that you think you could do what you did in the amateurs in the pro game. And that's a learning curve for him. And I know Eddie Hearn has faith in this heavyweight, Nikosi Solomon. He looks the part, he talks the part, and he's very humble as well. And I think that Nikosi Solomon could go on and achieve great things. As I've always said, a loss shouldn't hurt anybody. Bernard Hopkins lost his pro debut, so you know what? Don't really matter, does it? So, but more interested, we'll kind of see what his character's like going forward. The undisputed cruiserweight world champion after winning the Muhammad Ali tournament for the World Boxing Super Series, cruiserweight, taking on Tony Bellew next in Oleksandr Usyk from Ukraine. Yes, he's a Matchroom fighter and will be performing on the DAZN app from here on out. He is still part of K2 Promotions, of course, but co-promoted by Matchroom. So again, this is another quality star that DAZN have on their ranks. Paul Butler. Now, I like Paul Butler. I like him a lot. Bantamweight, I do feel though that last time out he didn't really start off too good. I'm not going to get into that whole fight, but the first couple of rounds didn't go too well, playing catch up from there on out. But I do think that Paul Butler could go on and do something great, but hopefully that last loss there, and ultimately it cost him a place in the World Boxing Super Series as well. But yeah, I think Paul Butler, he's very good. He's very, very good. But again, it's up to him. He's at the point now where he either needs to start performing the way that we all know he can and regain some momentum, or if he takes a loss in the next couple of fights, it could be over for him. Could be, but hopefully not. Quash Ashfaq. Yep. He is a very, very good fighter. I like him. He's only had 3 fights. Very nice guy, very humble guy, super bantamweight. 3 wins, 1 of those by knockout. So already you can kind of see he's not the biggest puncher in the world, but still, for me, I think he could be one of the guys to look forward to in the future. Reece Bellotti. I like Reece Bellotti. I think he's an absolutely fantastic fighter. Again, he is an undercard fighter. He does go on the Dylan White undercards, on the Anthony Joshua undercards and things like that. But for me, I think that's a Reece Bellotti at featherweight. He's going to go on and do some great, great things. But he will be taking on Cunningham for the Commonwealth on the October 27th card next weekend, which is looking real stacked, isn't it? So Reece Bellotti, keep your eye out for that one. I like him a lot. Rashat Mati. American guy, I believe he's American. Anyway, he's just signed with Eddie Hearn, made his pro debut on the Worlds Collide Chicago show there in America. and did very, very well. And Eddie Hearn says that this lad could go on to achieve great, great things. He's got full confidence in him. But of course, that's what Eddie Hearn's going to say about his fighters. Ultimately, it's very, very early to tell. But by the looks of him so far, he's looking pretty damn good. So keep your eye out for this one. And remember the name of Rashad Mati. Ricky Burns, does he need any introductions? Probably not. Multiple weight world champion from Scotland. He does fluctuate 140, 135, 130 and whatever else. I'm not too sure what Ricky Burns is going to do. He is at the very end of his career, but he still has that one ambition to become a world champion again. But I think he's one of those kind of guys at the minute where he doesn't want to retire, even though a lot of people are saying, well, maybe he should. But you know what? He's been there with Terence Crawford and Julius Ndongo, Anthony Crolla. He's been around the block. But he's a very, very exciting fighter. And I like Ricky Burns. I like him a lot, actually. Robbie Davis Jr. just beaten Glenn Foote for the Commonwealth and British super lightweight titles. His only one loss, he's actually avenged in the very next fight where so he got stopped in the 12th round. He rematched a guy, which I forgot his name, hence the reason why I'm not saying it. But again, he beat him in the rematch in the 12th round. So he's actually beaten everybody he's been in the ring with, and he put on a great, great performance against Glenn Foote last weekend in Newcastle. Very, very bloody war. And he was supposed to come on the channel. I've got his number and everything, but I don't know, he got a bit busy, I think. But we'll try again. But Robbie Davis Jr. looking real, real good. Rocky Fielding, the regular WBA super middleweight world champion. He's going to be taking on Saul Canelo Alvarez next in December the 15th. You see, a lot of people are writing him off. I wouldn't write him off against anybody, to be perfectly honest. And I know those in America don't know who he is, but that doesn't mean he's no good. Now, I know those in America don't really watch out too much for what's going on in Britain, but Rocky Fielding is a very, very good fighter. He's only got one loss on his record, which is, of course, against Callum Smith. He got done in the first round. But still, things happen. But Rocky Fielding, he's got a new lease of life. He's part of the Jamie Moore team now, obviously along with Martin Murray and Carl Frampton and all those kind of ones, where Jamie Moore's doing wonders right now. He really is, former fighter himself, and has taken to coaching like a duck to water. He really has. And Rocky Fielding, don't write him off against Canelo. And the size difference is immense. If he can keep behind that jab and just keep Canelo away from him, he's got a very good chance. But is he going to be the favourite against Canelo? Of course not. But Rocky Fielding, don't write him off, from Liverpool. Great, great fighter. Ryan Burnett. Now, he was my fighter of the year for 2017. He's part of the Adam Booth boxing gym, along with Josh Kelly and is it Michael Conlon? Many, many others. And Ryan Burnett, he's going to be part of the World Boxing Super Series as well. He is... Although, I kind of get confused, is he IBF or is he WBA? Because I know he held both and he vacated one of them and whatever else it may be. But either way, he's undefeated from Northern Ireland. I like Ryan Burnett. He's a fantastic fighter and wouldn't surprise me if he was to win the Bantamweight World Boxing Super Series. He's got some tough people in his group. Let's not make any mistakes about it. But I like Ryan Burnett and I've got full confidence in him. Sam Eggington from Birmingham. Now, he got into boxing to become a journeyman, and he's far exceeded it. You know, he's become British champion, he's become European champion, he's got the name of Paulie Malignaggi on his resume, and unfortunately, he has taken a couple of losses against people that you didn't expect him to be honest, and especially last time out as well. But ultimately, maybe that was just bad management on their part. Didn't really look at his next opponent and just thought he was just going to breeze through them, especially being in his hometown of Birmingham as well. But ultimately, Sam Eggington, he's an entertaining fighter. I think he is suited to super welterweight. I don't think welterweight is his weight class. I mean, considering the damn size of him. So, yeah. Sam Eggington, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe he is turning into a journeyman. But still, for me, you're going to be seeing a lot of him anyway. Scott Fitzgerald even. Again, a super welterweight. Very, very good fighter, and one that Anthony Fowler wants to fight next as well. But ultimately, we'll really have to wait and see what happens. But with these 11 wins, he has stopped 8 of those. And I like Scott Fitzgerald, old Fitzy. He's a real, real good fighter. And hopefully him and Anthony Fowler can get it on at some point. And I wouldn't write off Fitzgerald against Fowler, but likewise, I wouldn't write off Fowler against him either. Because both of these guys are kind of at the level now where we don't know who's better, which is why it's an interesting one. He is out for a while. He does have a hand injury, so we may not see him this side of 2018, maybe February, March next year. But we have to wait and see. So that's Scott Fitzgerald. Scott Quigg, one of my favourite fighters. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but of course he is training at the Wildcard gym with Freddie Roach, and I like him. I really, really like him. Now, his 2 losses, again, both of them were a damn war. An absolute war for both of them. Obviously, the first one was of course, against Carl Frampton. But Scott Quigg, I mean, I wouldn't write him off against anybody. I really, really wouldn't. And I know that, Kid Galahad and, he could potentially be fighting the winner of Josh Warrington and Carl Frampton. I wouldn't mind seeing Scott Quigg in there with Kid Galahad, to be honest with you, before that fight happens or whatever. I rate Scott Quigg. I really do. And I do think he will become world champion at some point. I really do. But either way, we have to wait and see. Now, Scotty Cardle, I like him, but he's British level at best. That's just my opinion. I'm not quite sure even if he's British level. But he's one of those kind of guys where you can see he's got all the potential in the world, but sometimes he performs, sometimes he don't. He really don't. But, I like him. I like Scotty Cardle. And when he lost to Lewis Ritson as well, for me, that was pretty much, I don't want to say the curtain, but it's close to it. But Scotty Cardle can come back, and he probably will. But ultimately, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with Scotty Cardle. Sean McGoldrick, the Welshman. Now, I like Sean McGoldrick. He's a pretty decent fighter. 7 wins, of course, undefeated. He was last out on the on the Welsh card, the Cordina versus Dodge last time out. But Sean McGoldrick, keep your eye out for him. He's a very, very good talent. As I said, he's only 7 fights in. It is early to say exactly how good he's going to be. And he does go under the radar quite a bit. But he's certainly showing the right tools. He really is. Not the biggest puncher in the world so far, but ultimately, as the maturity starts to step in, maybe some power may grow out of it. This is a damn long video, isn't it? I thought it might be about half hour, but anyway. Stephen Smith, obviously the brother of Callum Smith and what have you, and Liam Smith and whatever. I think Stephen Smith, he's kind of like one of those guys where, again, he's under the radar. He's super featherweight, of course, with 25 wins. He is, for me, European level. I think British to European level. That's just my opinion anyway. So, old Swifty, I like him. I like him a lot, and I know a lot of you guys do as well as. Tasha Jonas. Unfortunately, she took a loss in her last fight. And we're all looking forward to her taking on Katie Taylor at some point. Obviously, them two have history going back to the amateurs. But Tasha Jonas taking that loss last time out against Vivian Obanov. Is it a shock defeat? Probably not, to be fair. Probably not. But you know what? Tasha Jonas needs to rebuild. Does she really want to be a boxer? If she does, then she won't allow this one loss to affect her. For me, she needs to take on a couple of journey women. Is that what we call them? And then hopefully rematch Vivian Obanov and try and avenge that loss and then get back on track to potentially a showdown with Katie Taylor in the future. But I think that loss, hopefully it doesn't affect her. Because I like her, she's a very good fighter, but I think once she gets tagged, she goes into like a bit of a shell. But you know what? A loss shouldn't affect anybody, right? But either way, Tasha Jonas, I do like her and I wish her all the best. Now, Ted Cheeseman, one of my favourite fighters. Ted Cheeseman, he's a super welterweight. Can fight at welterweight now, of course, as well. 14-0, 9 of those by knockout. And again, he'll be on next weekend's show on the Ryder Sirotkin card at the Copper Box. You know what, I've said it before and I'll say it again. What a fantastic card that is. What a fantastic card. If anybody from the outside looking in want to kind of see or learn a lot about some British fighters, that's the card you need to watch. Seriously. Set your clocks, whenever it may be, October 27th on Sky Sports or DAZN, depending on where you are, watch this card. Cancel your date with your wife on that night. Just watch this card. It's going to be a fantastic one. Ted Cheeseman is going to go up against Byfield in a 50-50 fight, you could say. And if Ted Cheeseman wins this one, trust me, this is going to be something of something wonderful in the future for him. This is a real breakout fight for Ted Cheeseman. And of course it is for Byfield as well. But for me, Ted Cheeseman, who of course I will be having some news for you all soon on Ted Cheeseman. And yeah, it's a little bit more than just an interview on this channel. That will happen, of course, but there will be something else which I'll announce soon, hopefully before next weekend. So Ted Cheeseman, keep your eye out for that lad. Keep your eye out for him, seriously. Tevin Farmer. Now Tevin Farmer, he's got a couple of losses on his record. Arguably ones that he shouldn't have had, but they were way back when. He is a bit strange looking. I'm not going to say he's not. I think he kind of needs that punch in the head to realign. But to be honest with you, I mean, I like him. Hopefully he gets through. Well, I say hopefully. No, I'm lying. I don't want him to win this weekend at all. I really don't. But purely because I'm a British fanboy and that, of course. But Tennyson, I hope, is going to beat him. But if he doesn't, then we're looking forward to a Tevin Farmer and Gervonta Davis fight a little bit down the line, which ultimately I'm sure that's what Eddie Hearn wants, right? But for me, I hope that Tennyson does him. As much as I do like Tevin Farmer at times, but I think that just for this one, I'm going to go against some Matchroom fighters on this one. I want James Tennyson to beat him and to become world champion. But anyway, nearly there, people. Tommy Coyle. Obviously, Tommy Coyle, he's been around the block a bit. He does have 4 losses on his record. He's lightweight. Now, he's Commonwealth, British level for sure. He can mix it with world level, no doubt about it. And he will be on the Boston card as well coming up this weekend. So keep your eye out for Boom Boom Tommy Coyle. Again, he's part of the Jamie Moore boxing gym as well. And he's a practical joker, that's for sure. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him take on O'Hara Davis at one point, but ultimately that fight just didn't come together, of course, for one reason or another. And I wouldn't mind seeing Tommy Coyle in there with, say, Josh Taylor at some point, to be fair. I'll probably favour Josh Taylor in that fight, to be fair, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. And I do like Tommy Coyle. I rate him very highly. I really do, but I know everything will be dependent on this weekend, of course. And last but certainly not least, Tony Bellew. Now, he's been around the block on several occasions, no doubt. I mean, he does only have 2 losses on his record, and one of them he did avenge, of course, against Nathan Cleverly, and the other one he's yet to avenge, which was against Adonis Stevenson, where he was severely weight drained in that fight. You could see how skinny he was in that one. And I know he says that his next fight, which of course November the 10th at the Manchester Arena against Oleksandr Usyk for the undisputed cruiserweight world titles, I hope if he wins that one, he's going to have a rematch with Adonis Stevenson. I wouldn't mind seeing him avenge that loss. That's just my serious opinion. But I rate Tony Bellew. He's a real nice family guy, of course. And I'd love to get him on the channel. I really would. I don't know how that's even possible. He's almost as hard to get hold of as Anthony Joshua, to be fair. But Tony Bellew, good luck to him against Oleksandr Usyk. I don't favour him to win. But you know what, Bellew? We've all said it, and we'll keep on saying it. Never ever write off the bomber, Tony Bellew. Everton fan, of course, so he's kind of used to being the underdog, I suppose. But I like Bellew. He's a great guy, and I wish him all the best and good luck against Oleksandr Usyk, and I hope he does it, to be fair. So, yeah. So that's all the Matchroom fighters. One hell of a list, right? And you get to watch all these guys on Dazn for your $10 per month, as well as, coming up, the Goldenboy fighters. My throat's actually dry now. And you know what? Let's look at just some of their top guys. I don't want to go through every single one of them because I feel I don't know every single one of them. But Angel Acosta, the WBO light flyweight champion. Again, very good fighter. Keep your eye out for him. You see all these names you're going to be seeing on Dazn. And here in the UK as well, I'm presuming that all the shows that Goldenboy put on will be on Sky Sports here in the UK. I'm only presuming that. I haven't seen anything to that effect. But I'm presuming because the Matchroom shows are, the Goldenboy shows will be. And I fully expect these guys to be mixing up and appearing on the other shows for Matchroom and Goldenboy, etc. So, Angel Acosta, Jaime Munguia. This is a name that is rising through the lips of many boxing fans lately, with wins over Cook recently, Brandon Cook, and of course before that Liam Smith, when he defended his WBO junior middleweight world title, or super welterweight if you like, and before then when he beat Ali for the title. And this guy is massive. He's an absolute fighting machine. If you haven't seen him, you need to watch him. God, my voice is really starting to go. Saul Canelo Alvarez, obviously the WBA, WBC and IBO lineal and Ring Magazine middleweight world champion, with a draw against Golovkin and then a rematch with Golovkin where he beat Golovkin on points. Regardless of what we all thought about that decision, did he beat him, did he not? I suppose it depends on the fan, really, as to what it is that you're looking for. But either way, he got the victory, and that is what it is. And arguably the #1 boxing superstar in the world. It's debatable. Is he a bigger superstar in the UK than Joshua? No. Is Joshua a bigger superstar in North America than Canelo? No. So it is a big thing as to who's the #1 universally, Canelo or Joshua. Either way, don't matter. They're both with Dazn, right? So Saul Canelo Alvarez, he will be taking on Rocky Fielding for the regular WBA super middleweight world title. As I said before, don't write off Rocky Fielding on this one. And this might be a cherry pick that's gone wrong for Canelo. Maybe, we don't know. Ray Vargas is the next one, WBC super bantamweight champion. Keep your eye out for him. And of course, you've got Albert Machado, the WBA super featherweight world champion. You know, I'm just going to zip through some of these now just to get it over with. We're coming to an hour now. Jesus Rojas even, the WBA regular featherweight world champion. And a couple of stars that for me I think that will be coming through. Again, Goldenboy, all these ones of Goldenboy. That maybe keep an eye out. And for me, I think that we certainly need to be doing that. And especially with Manuel Robles III. He's a featherweight. He's currently an NABF champion as well. And moving on, Romero Duno, the WBC Youth Intercontinental Lightweight Champion. Ryan Garcia, again, a guy that a lot of people are really starting to talk about. Very, very exciting prospect, Ryan Garcia. Fully expect him to be world champion at some point. But currently, he's the NABF Junior Super Featherweight Champion. Virgil Ortiz Jr., again, another prospect. Again, he's the NABF Junior Super Lightweight champion, as well as Alex Rocha, WBC Continental Americas welterweight champion. So again, keep your eye out for him. Rashidi Ellis, the IBF North American welterweight world champion. I don't know too much about him. I'm have to be perfectly honest on that one. But Jason Quigley, the Irishman, part of the Dominic Ingle gym. He's the NABF middleweight champion as well, so fully expect him to move on, especially with the guidance of Dominic Ingle and that as well. And Lamont Roche Jr., the WBA International Super Featherweight Champion, certainly one to look at. I've seen him on Instagram before. He's looking real good. I've never watched a whole fight of his, I have to be honest. Well, I don't think I have, but the clips that he puts up, pretty good. And Diego De La Hoya, no relation to Oscar. Or at least apparently, who knows though, right? Maybe somewhere along the lines, or they're hiding it from us, who knows. But Diego De La Hoya, the WBC Youth Super Bantamweight Champion. For me, out of all these ones that I've said, maybe with Ryan Garcia, but Diego De La Hoya, for me, will be world champion one day. That's just my prediction, but for me, I think that he will be. And Yamaguchi Falcao, the WBC Latino middleweight champion, never watched him. And Yoet Gonzalez, again, somebody else I don't know, but that don't mean that they're no good, right? The WBO Naboo featherweight title. Naboo, isn't that from Star Wars or something? And of course, let's not forget, not a prospect, of course, but a name that you all know in David Lemieux. Don't need to talk about him too much, especially as he beat somebody who I really liked last time out, Gary Spike O'Sullivan, who is, of course, also a Golden Boy fighter. And last but certainly not in no way least, Oscar Necrete. Don't know who he is, but he's on the list. And he's the NABF bantamweight champion. There's a lot of NABF champions on the Golden Boy. So again, I mean, if you was to remove Canelo from Golden Boy, who is it that you've really got left? Probably not too many people you've heard of. You've probably heard of David Lemieux, of course, and Gary Spike O'Sullivan. And maybe the name Ryan Garcia floating around, and of course Diego De La Hoya as well floating around, and Jason Quigley, of course. But outside of that, he needs to stack up. And there's a lot of PBC fighters over there who need to be fighting regularly. And why not nab some of these guys to add to the Golden Boy one to put heat on Eddie Hearn? Because obviously, as I said, Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya, they don't have to like each other as such, but they will be helping each other out with sharing the fighters across each show, because obviously it gives each of their guys some kind of eyes on them, I suppose. Especially when the UK fans will be watching here in the UK on Sky Sports the Matchroom shows, and of course we may as well watch the Golden Boy ones as well, as it's all on Dazn. And likewise, if you're in the States, if you pretty much only watch the Canelo ones, if you're paying $10 a month, you may as well watch the damn rest of it. And all the fighters are all going to be getting a lot of exposure, which is the most important thing, and of course money. But fully expect a whole host of PBC fighters now to start coming over to Dazn. Anyway, is anybody still with me? I wouldn't blame you if you're not, because it is a one hell of a long video, isn't it? Anyway, I want to end it right now. So drop your thoughts below about the whole stable of Dazn fighters. Who stands out there the most? Obviously, with the exception of the likes of Joshua and Canelo. Drop your thoughts below about it. Will you now be subscribing to Dazn? Click that thumbs up, subscribe, catch you all on the next video.